Hi, folks. Dr. Jim Gishwin here, retired intelligence analyst. Got a number of things to cover today. Okay, so I'm not going to sit there and talk about silly crap in my life. All right. We got a new Fraud Czar announced. Constitutionally, wouldn't it be better if this guy was, approved by the Senate also? We had that problem, remember, when we had the other special prosecutor, Jack Smith. He was declared a little bit unconstitutional because he was not, approved by the Senate. Now here's look. All this fraud going on. I'm sorry that 90%, 95% of the people are Somalis. That's just the way it is. That's just a fact. Okay? So we're not sitting there picking on certain people. In fact, I think Governor Walsh is deeply involved, and so is his Attorney General. And I think that the investigation will uncover that. And I think that's why you're sitting there seeing so much weirdness going on with him. Calling out the National Guard against federal officers is an act of insurrection. Calling out your state militia to fight against officers of the U.S. government is an insurrection. Remind you, it says taking up arms against America. Taking up arms against America is what it says in the definition. That, folks, is insurrection. Okay? You're putting those National Guard people in a untenable situation. Of course, the president can also federalize them and put them on the other side, just like Kennedy did with George Wallace when James Meredith was going into the colleges down there. Okay, now, hey, folks, there's been 30 or more incidents of cars being used as deadly weapons for terrorists, and so yeah, that was a terrorist act. I mean, the woman peeled rubber, okay, towards the officer. That is not an innocent action, okay? Okay? And you talk about masks, they want to sit there and take away the driver's licenses of any ICE officer that wears masks, things like that. First of all, just give them federal driver's license, okay? There are federal driver's licenses. I had one in the military, okay? They can do that too. As far as that goes, Antifa wears masks. And that Fraud Czar has been tasked also with uncovering, well, it has been uncovered, it just has to be officially uncovered, that network of billionaires from Davos, Switzerland, okay, that sits there and funds all these radical groups. And speaking of funding radical groups that run a protest in our streets, guess where all the Hamas money came from? The Hamas demonstrations, remember those? They came from the Iranian thugs that Venezuela let in that are now roaming the streets down there, trying to round up citizens that helped Trump. The Iranians, they imported a whole bunch of Iranian thugs to act as kind of their little brown shirts down there in Venezuela during their little communist regime. Maduro couldn't even trust his own military to guard him. That's why he had Cubans guarding him. I wonder how many Cubans we killed when we sat there and went and grabbed him. And speaking of that, we need to uncover that network. Who pays for the brick being thrown at the ICE officer? Who pays for that? All right? Who pays for the gas masks that they pass out? Those are expensive, partner. I got one. I'm a mini prepper. I got one. They're not cheap. Okay? If you want one that works. And speaking of the Maduro regime, the regime is still there. It's time for a second strike. I think they kind of sit there and said, let's talk some more, because they started talking nasty about they didn't want that vice president that they swore in, saying she wasn't going to cooperate and all this other stuff. And then they started rattling our saber about a second strike, and she sit there and started mellowing her talk. But she needs to go. Their attorney general needs to go. Their heads of their military need to go. They were all involved, all totally involved. And we need to sit there and get a peacekeeping force of Americans in there. Yes, we need boots on the ground in there to sit there and get rid of the Iranian thugs, okay, and all the other nationalities that are in there that Venezuela invited in there to do their bidding. The last oil tanker, by the way, that we grabbed was up there between Iceland and England, and it was on its way to Moscow. Not Moscow, St. Petersburg, up there in the north, up by the Kola Peninsula. So, I'm telling you folks, this is the way things go, okay? We need a second strike, and as far as Minneapolis goes, he calls out that National Guard. That's an insurrection. I'm sorry. And these political leaders have to sit there and start minding their tongue, or else they're going to get prosecuted. They need to get prosecuted for sitting there firing people up. And that's exactly why ICE agents are getting hurt. Okay? It's because they are deliberately blocking, deliberately trying to run them over, deliberately trying to shoot them. Okay? Like the National Guard officers up in D.C. that were shot. Okay? We have to return to law and order, and President Trump's the man to do it. You know he will. He's a man of his word, and he will sit there and go in there with a push. And if Walsh sits there and wants to sit there and keep talking insurrectionist talk, I think we ought to sit there and lock his butt up. Okay? He's a disgrace to his uniform anyway. Stolen valor. Anyway. Well, guys, God bless you. I hope everything's working out okay. I think I got all my Warriors to Lords thing with the Knights of Columbus all done and ready to go. So I will probably miss graduation for the school I teach at the end of May because I'll be in Lourdes, France on a pilgrimage. And I'm hoping my brother, and pray for my brother, please, Richard. He's been having a lot of medical problems. He's 10 years younger than me, and I don't understand why. He's lived a lot cleaner life than I have, and I'm getting healthier, and he's getting sicker. So, something ain't right there. Lord, please take care of that. I will gladly assume some of his illnesses if it would make him better. And I would certainly like to sit there and see him maybe meet me in Lourdes in the end of May in France. I know he has a hard time traveling, but maybe. God bless you all. Remember, I love you. God bless America. God bless you. And I remain your very humble servant. Take care, folks.